when Brendan stood up here and complained that us students, people like Tim and me, are engaged in a discourse of censorship, that we want to silence them. Not being funny, you don't seem very silenced. For a start, you're here. For a second, you still have your national newspaper columns. Apparently, I don't read them, but people tell me they're still out there. So what you're really saying is that, not that we're trying to silence you, but that we have the audacity to try and erode the platform that our racist and misogynistic society has given to two privileged white men. That is what we are guilty of doing. What you are saying is you personally have a right to that platform, which other people are not given, that you personally should maintain hegemony over that platform. What we are saying is move the hell over. Other people deserve that platform. Other people who are not white, who are not men, and who are not of the people that you call privileged. Move over. And in order to do that, you have to create a space where those people can actually enter into that discourse. What I want to talk about, oh no, thank you, is the discourse of hypocrisy. Because when they stand up here and say that they're engaged in free speech and they want free speech for everyone, they are actively denying the discourse of censorship that they are involved in. Brendan, when he refuses to recognise trans people's preferred pronouns and actively misgenders them in his national newspaper columns, is engaged in a discourse of censorship. He is saying, this is language to which I object. People calling themselves she when I think they are male is a language to which I object. I'm not going to recognise it, and I'm going to say that it is wrong. That is engaging in a discourse of censorship. It's also so arrogant to engage in that discourse when you are not a stakeholder in it. It matters nothing to you whether or not a trans person chooses to identify in whatever way, but you are so arrogant as to think that you are allowed to censor them from doing that. Utterly repulsive. No, thank you. I'm coming to you, don't worry. I'll take you now. No? No PR1?
Yes,
Go
indeed.
for it.
Yeah, you said at the beginning that you didn't read our columns, and it's absolutely evident from what you've said this evening that you don't.
Okay. So, don't worry, I do my research. And the thing I'm referring to is when Peter Hitchens said about the rapes that had occurred in Oxford, that obviously the fact that these were Muslims was important, because if you engage in a discourse where you think of other people as infidel and think of other people as lesser, that makes you more likely to be a rapist. That's why Muslims are more likely to be rapists. Exactly what you said.
Where? When?
2013. Look it up. You wrote it. Google it.
I didn't.
Right.
I didn't.
Okay.
You got the wrong
The problem
person.
is that this is. I mean, obviously, I did my research before the break. That's just moronic to say that I didn't. Check it yourself. You should remember what you write, especially when it's that offensive.
You should get a new search engine.
The reason is that this also leads to harm, right? The reason why this discourse is so instrumental in perpetuating violence is obvious. Because apartheid doesn't make any sense if people aren't engaged in a discourse of racism. It would collapse under its own ridiculousness. It has to be buttressed by that discourse. Homophobic attacks make no sense without a discourse that legitimizes homophobia, without playing into that discourse and being part of that conversation. Transphobic attacks make and all of the trans women and trans men who die in this country and other countries makes no sense without the discourse that Brendan O'Neill specifically perpetuates when he refuses to recognise their chosen gender identity. Islamophobic attacks in the UK make absolutely no sense without a discourse of Islamophobia, without the discourse that Peter Hitchens himself perpetuates. Peter Hitchens, when you write that a discourse of Islam is what causes Muslim men to rape, you are engaged in a discourse of censorship. You are saying that the discourse of Islam is something that is wrong, something that should not be allowed, something that you object to. Yeah, go for it.
Is it not true that to have a different opinion isn't the same as telling other people that they shouldn't have or they can't have that opinion?